Welcome back to the Growth Formula. My name is Eliah Mutaviri. Today we are tackling a very uncomfortable truth. The most dangerous person in your business is you. Your business doesn't stop growing because you've run out of opportunities. It stops growing because you've stopped growing. To unpack this topic, we're joined by Eliah, who has worked with countless entrepreneurs to break through their own limitations. Welcome back, Eliah.
Thank you, and thank you for having me today.
In the last 3 episodes, we've looked at what growth really is, how businesses engineer it, and why so many growth strategies fail. Right? Today, we are asking a more uncomfortable question. What if the biggest obstacle to your business isn't your competitors, isn't the economy, isn't the cash flow? What if it's the person running it? So, what do you mean when you say the most dangerous person in the business is often the founder?
So, you see, when a founder is running their business, everything that happens within the business goes through the lens of the founder. So, and I'm not disputing the fact that there's other factors coming into play here, but the founder is the person where each and every decision is filtered through. So, for example, the business wants to get a customer and they want to do whatever they want to do. It goes through the lens of the founder. So if the founder still remain the same person they were 5-10 years ago or when they started the business, then that becomes a problem, because as the business evolves, it got different requirements. And a founder themselves, they get so dangerous in the sense that they become a bottleneck, in the sense that everything is queuing towards them. So every decision has to pass through them. Every customer has to pass through them. And that need to be needed, and that want or need to be needed is the founder to say, I'm at the center of everything. That's where the danger is. Because a business is a system, it's not a person. The skill set that is required as a founder when you're founding a business is not the same skill set that is required for a business when it's 5 years old or 10 years old or when it's expanded. You see? So it's so key to actually understand as a founder to say, am I the bottleneck here or not? Because that's where the danger is. So let's say the market in this business, for example, if I think that the market is bad out there, it's tough out there, our decisions are going to be based on that. You see, I'm going to come in and tell you guys, geez, guys, do you see how the economy is? It's so tough. Geez, how are we going to go about it? And that's the challenge. But if I come in and say, like, listen, we've got a boom out there, all right? Everything we do actually is based on that assertion. So it's very important to really understand your role in the business as a founder, because your people are following you as the founder. Your business is following you as the founder, every decision you're making. So you become a danger to your own business when it reaches a certain level. It needs you at the beginning, but later on it might not need the same version of you that you have been for the past few years.
So if there's chaos in the business, you were saying I should be looking at the founder first?
100%. But not to assign blame. And I'm not to assign blame to the founder. But remember, this is the head of the business. And if you are a founder in a business who actually everything runs through you, every process runs through you, that's where it starts. But accountability starts with the founder. Then, because they make a lot of decisions in this case, and that's where the challenge you see with the small business or startups, the founder still remains at the core of the business. Every decision, every move, every customer, they are all involved, and that's the danger. And when something goes wrong, you can't then run away and say, like, but you were at the center of everything. So it's for accountability, not to just assign blame.
Okay, so how does someone move from building a business to holding it back?
It's funny. I'm laughing about it because it's so funny. So the vision of you as a founder, which is required to start a business, is not the same vision of you which is required to scale it. I don't know if that's very clear.
Can you please repeat that?
So I'm saying the vision of you as a founder that is required to start a business is not the same vision of you which is required to scale it. So as a founder, when you're starting the business, you're doing everything. And it works because you don't need to wait for everybody. The speed and agility is key. But later on, as the business expands, as that system expands, you become the bottleneck in the sense that everything is coming to you, but it becomes too much. So everything then just queue to you, and that's the challenge. Then, so the skill set that is required in terms of actually growing a business, it's not the same skill set that is required to starting a business. But that's where a lot of founders then get stuck. I've started my business, I own 100% of it. They continue in that cycle. But that's not the level that's required now. Now it requires the 4 pillars of growth to actually then take it further. I'm going to give you an example. I spent 12 years of my life in corporate, working in mature businesses. Right. Mature businesses attack the 4 pillars of growth differently. So the 4 pillars of growth are: there's customer acquisition, there's a financial system of cash flow, there's the operating system, and people. So what a mature business does, they've got what we call a C-suite in every pillar. For example, sales and marketing, there's a chief marketing officer. Finance, there's a chief financial officer, which was my role. Systems, there's a chief operating officer. People, there is a chief people officer. Do you see what they do? So there's people who account for each and every pillar. That's a mature business. But as a startup, you can't afford this because just the turnover cannot pay a CFO. You understand? So then you are performing all these roles as a founder. You understand? So then you are the chief marketing officer, you are the chief financial officer, you are the chief operating officer, and you are the chief people officer as the founder. So, and not to mock anybody, but there's a lot of founders there who don't have the corporate experience. They've never worked in a mature business. So they even they don't have experience in these 4 pillars. So now you're trying to do it, you're still doing it on your own. And that's when you become a bottleneck. Instead, what you should do, you do not only just quickly get to these 4 levels now, or to be in a position where you hire these people. The numbers don't agree. But if you have got growth partners, they will help you navigate these 4 pillars. And then you transition your business to say, you know what? Now we can have chief marketing officer because the business has resources. Then you handle the other ones. Now we can have this CFO because now the funds allow that. You understand? So because growing a business is not a one-man show. A business is a system. So if you look at big business, they have this, they call it the C-suite, because they are responsible for these pillars of growth. But as a founder, you become a bottleneck as the business grows and you are still performing all these functions. You see, and then you hold the business back. Instead, letting go is actually the solution to let your business grow.
I hear you speaking about bottleneck. So how does someone know if they become the bottleneck?
Actually, they need to do an assessment. The first part is this, and I've always said this, I think, to my chief of staff, and say this: if there is somebody better to do a certain role in the business than you as the founder, let them do it. The challenge is our ego. If there's somebody better in this business to do what I'm doing, I'll step aside and do a certain role. You understand? So the first part is to start there and say, look, what is it that, if I look at the talent around me, what is that I'm not supposed to do myself, and actually somebody else handle that? So you need to look in the mirror first and say, like, what is it that I myself as the founder need to delegate to somebody else? Because the ego, this ego which we get as founders at the beginning when I'm starting the business, it helps build it, but later on it becomes an issue. So start with yourself. What problems keep on popping up? Look at that. Because the problems keep on popping up because you as the founder, you are stuck with this and you're making these decisions, but they keep on being problematic. Then ask this question: if somebody is to be the CEO of this business, what is it that they're going to stop me doing? That's a difficult one. If somebody takes over this business today and they become a CEO of this business, what is that they will say, stop doing that? And that question, it's uncomfortable, but that's the truth of the matter. If you think that way and you are honest with yourself, because one challenge, you know what an ego does? It stops you from seeing reason, and you see things to conform with what you want to feel. So check in your business. What problems keep on popping up? What is becoming a bottleneck? What is it that, if I'm not a CEO today, somebody walks in and will say to me, stop doing that, that's wrong. And that's how you release yourself. And ask yourself, what is that I'm doing today that I could delegate? Because delegation, I'm sorry, it's an ego thing. That's what delegation is. Because I cannot believe on God's green earth that you are the only person that can do that so well. You, yourself, and yourself, those 3 people. You can do this purely so good yourself. I don't think so. So that you need to look and say, on the things that I'm doing myself, what can I give to the next person to do? What can I delegate? Even if it's not now, maybe if the people are not ready. In 6 months' time, what can you delegate? So if you review this, you do all these honest reviews, you're not just helping your business. You're not just helping yourself. You're helping the business grow, because a business is not built by around one person. One is a number too small to build anything great.
Yeah, so the answer isn't just improving the business, it's also improving the person leading it.
100%. Because we work a lot in improving systems. Let's bring this system, let's change that. But when are we working on improving the person? When are we doing that? And I think that's where the challenge is. Improving the person that's making the decision. Because businesses out there, they spend a lot of money improving systems, improving processes. But when are we improving the founders? So clever founders, they know when to bring the right expertise. Clever founders, they know to say, now it's time to bring a C-suite executive. Now it's time to bring growth partners to help me on this level of growth. That's what you do, because you keep on reflecting on you and asking this question even to the people around you. What is it that I'm doing wrong? Because if the ego is too big, you won't see what you're doing wrong. You will be perfect. But then you hold the business back, and that's the challenge.
So if someone is serious about growing their business, what's the one thing that they should remember from today?
I would say take a step back and take a reflection. You know why I'm saying this? Because it's very interesting for me to say that as a person who started the business, right, you transform, or not transform, probably the wrong one, you change your role as the business grows. So take a step back and say to myself, this is what I've done so far. Give yourself a pat on the back, that's okay. But then say to yourself, to move forward, what do I really need? The fact that you are not the reason for the business, or you are not the person who is able to take the business further, doesn't make you a bad founder, or doesn't make you wrong for the business. It doesn't do that. But actually then it helps you see reason. You know, there's one saying which I just remember now, which says that those who provide the spark normally do not live long enough to sit by the fire. What does that even mean? It means that sometimes your role is to do the groundwork. As the founder of the business, you have got an idea, you put systems together at the start. But now the level that you actually now the business requires to get to, it's not you anymore. Maybe it's other two people. Maybe somebody has the better skill set or the better knowledge to take it further. Because as the founder of the business, if you don't have the experience of managing a scaling business, or you haven't worked in a mature business, there's nothing wrong with that. Just hire somebody who has the experience to do that, because you become a bottleneck if you don't. And be able to just see through the lens of your ego. Because when you start something, this is mine, this is mine. A business is something that I think we should not personalize. It's a system that should be able to benefit other people. See for yourself to say, if I'm not in this role today, what will somebody do? Allow yourself to be challenged. You have a brilliant idea, but now bring people who can challenge you, and don't surround yourself with a yes ma'am, yes sir, because that's just will be your downfall. Allow yourself to be challenged. Somebody should come with an idea, say, but this works better, and be open to that. Try that. Be able to listen to reason, because if it becomes you, and you, that becomes a challenge. You won't go further. So I would say to founders who have their businesses, don't just become the alpha and omega of your business. Work with other people, review your decisions, and ask the people surrounding you, do you think this works? Let them also be part and parcel of the process that you actually involved yourself in, and allow them to give you your opinions. And when you are making decisions, seek their opinion. And then yes, might be the ultimate decision maker, but allow certain decisions to go and put things through that filter. And I think if you get to do that as a founder, as a leader, it helps you. And the personal growth is one thing that is key, unfortunately. Because a business doesn't have habits. We people do. Then the business adopt those habits. So a culture is not actually built by people. A culture is a series of what people do every day. Then it becomes permanent. So if your role as an owner is that you are going to be holding everything yourself, you're not going to delegate, and you are afraid that people will mess things up, and you do not have direction, you change direction every single month, every customer who comes is a good customer, the culture of that business becomes that. And that's how a business inherits culture. It's the series of things that we do every day, then we adopt them. That's a culture. It's a series that now your business adopt this culture that if everybody knocks and say like, I'm looking for an accountant, then you say, let's take that customer. That's what the business becomes. That's in a direction. So what your actions are as an owner or founder are key in this instance. You need to be aware to say, what are we doing in this business? We offer this product or service. Great. If somebody knocks and say, I want to be your customer, if they don't fit the strategic fit of the business, the answer is no. We don't do that, because if you just take everybody as a customer, what does that even mean? For example, it means you are just taking everything. You don't have a direction. So I would say to owners and founders, your evolution in a business is key. It's either keep you at a certain point or not, because certain levels of business require certain level of maturity, and not just maturity, but certain level of interaction. Because what you were doing when your business was doing it with 1 people, 2 people in it, it's not the same thing that is required when it's now with 10 people. So I'll say to founders, allow that transition to happen. Allow the 4 pillars that we spoke about to be built in your business. And it's okay not to be you who is building that. Be okay to bring in people that can work with you. So I actually think that founders should start with themselves. To say, I was good here 5 years ago, but I'm not good anymore. And let me bring help. Let me bring other people to actually work with this thing actually up.
No, thank you so much for that. I think that's very fruitful. So, let's talk about perfectionism. Don't you think the owner doing everything is just perfectionism?
Well, let's talk about that. So, what is perfect? I think let's start from the what is perfect on this God's green earth, and I think that's the challenge. So, I think that when an owner does everything, there's an element of an ego, not just perfectionism, because you won't get everything right is perfectionism. I don't think that you get everything perfect in what you're doing. I think that as founders, probably you then allow your ego to then continue doing everything. They say, like, because I want it perfect, I want it this way. But let's take a step back. As a founder, you should be able to set standard operating procedures. So if a certain thing has to be done in a certain way, there should be a process that needs to be followed, right? To put it in place. So then there's no need to go and just change it all the time. So it's very key that whoever you're working with, or you as a founder, you need to set up standard operating procedure to say, if you are doing a proposal to a customer, this is how it looks like. If you are doing this is how it looks like. And that then takes away that all those trends of perfectionism. But on top of that, I think the other element which touches 2 pillars of growth actually when I think of it. Look at this one. If you don't have a standard operating procedure, you keep on changing. Then it becomes a bottleneck again, because you keep changing things you don't get done. But the second pillar which is touching actually is the staff element, the people element. The question is, do you actually have the right people to execute that? Because you might have a standard operating procedure, but then are your people trained enough as a founder to actually be able to execute that? So there's these 2 elements of now on the growth pillars that we're touching. To remove that, because first of all, I'm the ego for the founder. You sit with that ego for a long time. If you don't see it, to say, look, hold on, let my people do this. But when you let your people do it, let there be a standard operating procedure that helps them or that guides them to say, if I do this way, it's been done right. Then secondly, are they equipped enough to understand what needs to be done? Because I think there's a very, very big gap there. Because as you're building, as a founder as well, You're building yourself, not only the people around you. So I think we've got to cut each other some slack there, in the sense that the people that you are with you, they are also growing in the knowledge. You know, as a founder building, you really don't know where you're going actually. You are trying and deciding different things. So let's do this, right? But as you do that, I think you need to get to a point where it's not just to say, okay, define your perfect, maybe. Let me put it that way. Define your perfect, to say, this is my perfect. Let it be structured. Put in a standard procedure so that when whoever the employee is doing it, it doesn't come back to you. They have got the guideline to say, I work within this structure. This is fine. And then also train your people, teach them to say, listen guys, this is how this should be done. Then it becomes the standard or the identity of the company. So perfectionism, I don't see it as a wrong thing, but I see it as a standard. Set the standard. Don't let everything as a founder come back to you. Say, this is my perfect. This is my perfect. And then set the standard operating procedure. Then your people will follow that. Then you are not part and parcel of that. You see, you remove yourself from that process. Then that perfect thing, whichever you have defined, will keep on happening because you have used your perfectionism to define it and set a process for that and teach your people to actually do it.
Yeah, so I think it's important. From what I'm hearing is that you're saying that we need to first determine what perfectionism is.
In our eyes,
It's
yes.
obviously subjective
100%.
with everyone, yeah, and then
Yes.
it will help us build a structure.
100%.
So as a business owner, like how do you prevent perfectionism from causing burnout?
I think that's what we're talking about now, actually. In the sense that once you define your perfect, you set a system to say, this is our perfect, this is our standard. Then you take it and put it away. It doesn't need to come back to you as a founder. So your people will actually have a checklist called to say, when we're doing a proposal, whatever the case is, or preparing financials, or delivering a product, or before a product leaves our shop, this is what we check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's our perfect, right? Then it doesn't need you as a founder to be involved in that. You are not needed for a product delivery. You are not needed for a process setup. You have done your part. You have defined your perfect, and train your people, equip them with the resources they need to do the job. So you set the procedure, train your people, and equip them. If you do those three, it actually then relieves you of your time, because while you are the founder not being attached to this process, they will start everything and finish without you. And that's what you need as a business owner or as a founder, to say, can my people execute from A to Z without me? Because if they can't, you are going to part and parcel the process of everything, and you're going to burn out. So the question is, are you setting enough processes or standards in your system to allow them to operate without you? Then you won't burn out, because you have trained your people, you have given them the standards, operating procedure, you have given them the resources to achieve that. Then you are fine. And also, I think on top of that, there's got to be a quality check. Because if you don't have a quality check at the end of the day, you might say, I've given them the procedure, and I've helped my people to do, then I've trained them. But then people still make mistakes. So you need to have that layer of quality check, because if you don't, when something goes out there, it's out there. If the mistake is made, it's because we have a proper quality check inside. The wrong product is going out. The wrong service is the service that was supposed to be done instead of something wrong is done. So I think it's important to have that final layer of a quality check to say, if it's a service, 1, 2, 3, 4 needs to be done, then let's check that everything is done properly. If it's a product, let's have the quality check before it leaves our factory or our shop, whatever the case is. Let's have this product go through quality check. Did it meet all this? Then quality check or quality control, tick the boxes to make sure that it met the standard. Then with that, you avoid having a mess later on where the wrong product is going out or the wrong service is being delivered. Then you're dealing with complaints and all that. So that's another layer the founder can actually then add. And all this process we're talking about, it will sound or seem like a lot. But I think if you start them at a slower scale and put them together, I think you definitely would be fine. It definitely would be fine. But it requires an element from the founder of being intentional about it. setting these processes together. And you won't burn out. Yes, hard work is needed in everything you do, but I think that actually allows you to actually do things better. And with your people helping you, I think you'll grow the business very well.
So what if like the necessary training has been taken for the people?
Yeah.
And then obviously you spoke about the quality control as well.
Yeah.
All the boxes were ticked.
Yeah.
But then now the owner wants things to be done like there or a certain way.
That one, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna call it like that's being a lunatic because here's the thing. Because the question I'm gonna ask is, what is that you want as the founder? Then in that case, so you have set out the processes, the standard operating procedures there. There's quality check. So what else do you want? I think the founder needs to play more of a strategic role in the business than being stuck in the operations. And looking further than that, as I say this, because if you actually the wrong people, it can be a challenge. Because look at it this way: when you set up your procedures, you put your process together, you train your people, you equip them, and there's still a problem. That surely shouldn't be. Now that no longer found a problem. It might be now a people problem. That you might have wrong people in the wrong roles, or right people in the wrong roles in the business. So I think that when you get to that point where you see, remember we've got 4 pillars here. If you have done the systems, you've put them together. You have done under the system, you've done your operating procedure, you put your quality control in place. They have trained your people. Then if they still can't deliver, then you've got a people problem. You've got a people problem that you need to deal with as a founder. Remember, people is one of the pillars that you have to deal with. You need to be able to manage that. So as a founder, you've got a lot on your shoulders. Remember we said earlier on, you are managing these 4 pillars as one person. These are 4 different roles. So trust me, I'm not trying to shoot founders here. These are men and women who are carrying a lot for one person. And all they're trying to do is to be able to pay salaries, to pay suppliers, and they have something left for themselves. So I'm not trying to shoot them down, but at the same time, to grow, to be better, you got to have your systems. And you got to have the financial systems in place. You got to have the customer acquisition system in place. And in the hiring process, I think it's difficult to get great people, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be done right. Business is not supposed to be easy. This is a competition. This is a marathon. You understand? Business is not for the faint-hearted. I always say that. When you get into business, you are willing to take it to the next level. Remember, you are competing with the top performers. So as a founder, you need to actually sharpen your abilities and make sure that your people skills as well, they're better. If the business hasn't got to a point where you can hire a people's officer, a chief people's officer, you need to handle that. So while you might have processes that then the people becomes a challenge, and it can damage your business reputation very, very quickly. So as you're navigating that, it's very important, I would say, talking about the people, hire top down. That helps you from burning out. Hire top down. Why? So when you hire bottom up, there's a lot of training required. There's a lot of interventions required from you. But if I hire a senior person, they've got experience, they've been in the environment probably for quite long, then it means also they're helping you instead of you training them. But again, there's always shortfalls to that, in the sense that sometimes the business doesn't have those resources, or you feel like, unless you love to train people, and I believe in young people, I actually like to surround myself with young people who I believe that they can do great, and show them the way. And when you love what you're doing, you never work a day. Let me tell you that. So when dealing with people, that's a very, very, I think it probably needs its own discussion or its own day. Yeah. But it's an area which is very key in the business, because it is people that move a product or service or deliver a service. So if that part is not handled properly, you might have all the other areas of business covered, but then the people side is lagging, then you're looking at a problem here. So I would say that it's important as a founder to have your processes and align with the people. So a standard working procedure, which is good for an A-level player, might not be good for a C-level player. So see where your people are in terms of their level. Okay, for these people or my people to work properly, I have to standardize it in a certain way. You can't take a corporate document and throw it in a startup. and say your people should be able to do it. It doesn't work. So I think the founder should be able to do that.
I think that's very insightful. So from what I'm just hearing from you, I think the important parts that I picked up from the conversation is that the importance of owners seeking constant improvement, delegating duties where they're necessary. Even if you're the owner, if you see someone fit for a specific position,
100%.
just give them the place. And then also the importance of standard operating procedures. And then you also spoke about the competence of people, like equipping people with necessary skills. And if maybe because you could find out that they're probably working in a role that they're not fit for.
100%.
So, yes, I think that's what I actually learned from this conversation. I think I don't know if you have any final thoughts from this episode.
I would say that maybe in closing that the biggest challenge in business actually where the founder is still involved, or for startups, SMEs, is that it's not that the business will run out of opportunities. I don't think that's the biggest challenge. I think the biggest challenge is that the business will outgrow the person you as a founder choose to remain. So when that happens, the business won't scale. It will not.
Thank you so much for that, Eliah. And that's about it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us.